Another person I would say is probably Beyonce. I love Beyonce so much, and the reason being is to get where she is, she's tried her hardest and she gives like everything. She gives her all in everything that she does. And if you see other people, say for example Nicki Minaj or something like that, you wouldn't see them as a single rapper. You would see them more as like a sex symbol. Whereas Beyonce, she does do that. She does look sexy, but she does it in such a way.
Classy at the same time?
Yeah, sexy and classy at the same time.
Someone I have mixed views on is Billy Joe Armstrong.
Who's that?
It's the lead singer from Green Day.
Oh yeah.
He's like a great musician and celebrity, but he's got like a lot of drug issues which can obviously influence a lot of his fans, because a lot of his fans sort of like inject drugs at gigs and stuff, but like he writes a lot of songs about drugs, so it shows he kind of cares about it in some sort of way. He wrote a song called St. Jimmy, which is about being addicted to crack, I think it was. So it shows us that it's on his mind, but I think it's just hard to change when you're a celebrity, because the people that perceive you are going to stay there for a while.
And he's got a child.
Yeah, and he's got a child, so there's even more pressure.
One person that I really think is an amazing singer is Amy Winehouse. It was really sad that she died, but I think people think that celebrities should not take drugs and all of this. And obviously there's one thing that you shouldn't do. You should just not get into that sort of crowd where you take drugs. But I think it must be really hard for people like that, because they're influenced, and even though they do have fans, like, they're still humans and they still make mistakes. Whereas people say it's worse and stuff, when really anyone might go through that.
Like, staying on the subject of abuse and all, have any of you heard of Etta James?
Yeah.
Like, if you watch the new Cadillac records, Beyonce starred as Etta James, and she just showed her life and how it was for her as a young like woman trying to get into the music business, and how men would just think like, oh yeah, all these women can't do what we can do and all. And it's just like, it really showed me that no matter what comes in your way, you can always get past that, and you always have to stay strong. And that's why Etta James, unfortunately, I think she passed away in 2009. Even though she's gone, all the work that she's done, how she's influenced everyone, will still be here, and everyone will remember her for like all the good that she's done for everyone.
Okay, I'm just going to bring Julian here, because you don't have to say it long, but is there anyone you want to add to the list?
Someone I really like is Whitney Houston.
We love Whitney Houston, don't we?
Yeah.
So why do you like Whitney then?
Because she's one of these stars who doesn't go around. You know, she's famous for a reason, and she like makes an impact on people.
Okay, is there anything else you want to add in?
Okay.
There's one person that I like, Pete Doherty. I love the Libertines and I love all his solo stuff as well. But it's just, I read this article in like NME recently, and he's just turned into such an idiot.
And he made up this whole story that he was in love with Amy Winehouse when...
Yeah, when he actually turned her into drugs.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't like the way that some people can go from creating such good music and then they feel like they have to go into this kind of culture of drugs. It's just an indie thing to do and go completely off the rails and waste your life and your talent when you've got something really good. It's just stupid.
Like, one type of rock is this psychedelic rock, I think, and it's very formed around drugs. And like, surrounding yourself in the crazinesses that can happen from drugs, which I think is kind of wrong, to have a genre of music that relates around drugs themselves and that's it. I think it puts a bad influence on fans that listen to that kind of music. It brings them into sort of thinking, right, I'm a fan of this kind of genre, I'm gonna do drugs.
But actually, I'm a fan of psychedelic rock, but I would never be influenced to do like drugs. Well, I do see what you mean. Like, it's the videos, all the trippy colours and lighting coming in and emerging and stuff. And that kind of music is called music that you would do drugs to.
So like, what kind of bands is that then?
Well, there's this one called Toy.
Isn't it The Doors?
Yeah, The Doors. And there's this new band called Temples.
One thing that I do think is that I like talking about Whitney Houston. She obviously had drugs so much, she ended up owing like millions of pounds to people because they actually think she was murdered. Like, I read an article and they think she was murdered. So I think she just sort of used her fame to be able to take drugs. I think that she got herself into that kind of crowd and then she was just using drugs. Also, I think her daughter started taking drugs, and obviously she was such a bad influence that her daughter started taking drugs at like an early age.
It's just a waste of talent. That's the problem.
Yes, and she owed them like absolutely millions of money, but she had hardly any left. To say she was so famous, had so much money, imagine the amount she'd spend, so she had to borrow off her friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, so like thinking about all this kind of amazing list of celebrities you've come up with, is anyone here you think I quite like their job?
Beyonce.
Yeah.
I think Billie Joe Armstrong, because I'm in a band myself, but I can see how it's quite easy to sort of maybe be peer pressured into drugs, because it's quite a daunting thing, like playing in front of people. So backstage, if there's a band that's doing drugs, it's kind of easy to just give in.
I would say Amy Winehouse.
I wouldn't want Beyonce's job. I want to get like where I am putting my own effort in and my own heart and soul into it. But it is Beyonce who's influenced me and who I look up to. Like, she helps me thrive and like get what I want.